Okay, so a few people have asked me to do a video about the World Tour Finals in Glasgow this weekend. I thought I've got a spare few minutes, so why not? Let's get into it. Really looking forward to it. Obviously, last Giants Live of the year. And I've got to say, I think Giants Live this year has been absolutely fantastic in terms of the competitions, the performances, the show. All of it's been brilliant. I think we've had a really good year in terms of how it's all gone. The first one in Vegas, obviously. We had the first one in Birmingham as well, which was fantastic. So I think overall, there's been some amazing performances throughout the year, and I think that all the shows have been absolutely top draw in terms of the production, the equipment. You know, it's just been a hell of a year, and I'm glad that we're sort of going up to Glasgow again, because actually I think it's my favourite arena, Royal Albert Hall, but it's my second favourite arena out of all of them. I think Glasgow is a great place to do it. Obviously, we've got the popularity of the Steadmans up there, which helps because, you know, a lot of the Scottish fans are very, very loud and positive and very into the strongman. So I think it's a great place to have the World Tour Finals, and the arena for me is absolutely incredible. I love the whole look of it with the sort of curved effect and everything else. I think is a really good place to do a strongman show. So yeah, it's great to be going back, and obviously it's going to be signing off with a fantastic year. So let's get into the lineup. First and foremost, we've got the main man at the moment, Mitchell Hooper. We've got the local hero, Luke Steadman. Tom obviously has been posting a bit about it recently. He's skipping it. I totally understand it. One, he's got the Rogue Invitational, and two, he has been, as he's explained, suffering with a few injuries recently, which, you know, I've been in that position myself. It can be really frustrating when you're training hard and you're doing everything right and something is just holding you back. So sometimes you do need to step away for a few weeks, change a few things around. Obviously, he's got his new coach moving forwards that hopefully will help him fix these issues he's got. And obviously, we all know how good Tom is when he's 100%. He proved that at World's Strongest Man this year. So, yeah, it's a shame he's not there in terms of competing. He's going to be there meeting and greeting with the fans, which is great of him to do. But we have got Luke there, and obviously he's going to be a massive fan favourite. So, looking forward to seeing Luke up there. We've also got the second Luke Richardson. He's been on the comeback, you know, had a bit of a bad run of injuries, let's be honest. But I still believe that Luke Richardson is one of the very top few most talented up-and-coming strongmen. I say up-and-coming, he's won Europe's Strongest Man, he's been up there, he's made finals of World's Strongest Man, but he is still a young guy and has still got room to improve. So I think Luke is definitely one of those guys that is a potential winner of World's Strongest Man in the not so distant future. I've known Luke since he was a boy, and he has always been very dedicated, determined. He's a nice lad as well, works extremely hard, does all the right things at the right times, and has just had a bit of a bad run, but it's great to see him coming back into form again after the injuries. And I think he will have progressed from where he was in Birmingham as well. He performed really well there, and I think he will have moved another step closer to being at his best again. So also we've got Pavo Corda. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing Pavo. I always love seeing him compete. Some of the things he does is so dynamic and explosive, and, you know, he's like a real athlete. Not saying that the other guys aren't, but I always like seeing him compete because he's not that sort of big, strong, you know, really sort of thick set guy. He's very athletic looking, but he sort of uses his body very well and is extremely powerful, which I enjoy seeing, and very technical as well. It's actually good to watch him do some of the events and the way he does them, because it's kind of almost showing people how effortless it can all look if you do it right. We've got another guy on the comeback trail. He obviously had a bad injury at Rogue Invitational last year. Came back to the Shore Classic, looked in great shape, but I don't think he realised how good a shape he was in because he just hadn't pushed his training. We've got Trey Mitchell, obviously, who I'm talking about. He was extremely good in Vegas. Actually didn't push Mitch in terms of like super close. He's the first person that sort of managed to get Mitch to actually do the last event at all in the last couple of competitions. So great seeing Trey back and coming into form, and obviously coming off the back of that massive 470 deadlift without a suit on that he did in Vegas, and some solid performances all round. We've got Kane Francis, won England's strongest man this year. Another very talented English up-and-coming strongman. I know he's not been competing that long in terms of, you know, the actual time he's been doing strongman. He has definitely got some potential, and I think this year at World's Strongest Man, you won't have seen that yet unless you're in America. He, you know, like he had a good sniff at making the final. He was very close. I think he was in a battle with Evans Nana on the yoke, and that didn't quite go right. If he'd have put in a really blistering run there, which he is capable of doing, he'd have probably got into the stone off and had a crack at making the final. So I'm looking forward to seeing Kane. He has progressed since then, and his stone run at England's Strongest Man was incredible as well. So looking forward to seeing Kane. We then got, who I just talked about, Evans Nana. I believe he's leading the Champions League at the moment. Fun guy, on top of obviously being very strong. Definitely a crowd favourite. He's enjoyable to be around, is Evans. He's so polite, so friendly, so happy to be there. He's got really good energy, and which I think we all appreciate. I think that's why the sort of crowd really buy into him as an athlete, which I think in the future obviously will stand him in good stead, not just from the competitive side of it, because he'll have the crowd backing him, but also from a career aspect in terms of his ability to earn money, pick up sponsors, you know, doing all this sort of stuff. He has got amazing energy in terms of, like, he's very positive and very good to be around. So I think he's got a very good career ahead of him in terms of not just the competing side of it, but also the business side of the sport. Spencer Remick. Well, Spencer's like one of those guys where he's like a silent assassin almost. He just quietly goes about his business. I wouldn't say he's exceptional at any one event, but he's very, very good at everything. He's one of those guys, yeah, he just doesn't really, he's quite unassuming, he's quiet, he's a nice guy, but just goes about his business. And I really appreciate that about Spencer. And I think he's another one of those guys that's right on the cusp of being one of the top guys at World's Strongest Man. He's sort of in that point where he's like, you know, he's just a tiny bit off the top guys, but there's no reason why he can't get himself in that mix. And if he has a good performance here, could place really well. Wes Dwinsky. Now, Wes, first time I saw him compete actually was at World's Strongest Man this year, and I was super impressed. I thought he was really, really good. Real nice guy as well. Yeah, he's definitely a good, I wouldn't say find because he's been competing for a long time, but, well, a fair while, but a good addition to World's Strongest Man this year. He's a very good athlete, and they do breed them strong up in Canada at the moment, that's for sure. But Wes is a real top guy, and I expect him to be in the mix, fighting for podium spots. We've got Roman Grekov. Now, I don't know a lot about Roman. I have seen some videos from OSG Europe's. I actually watched some of his competition on the live stream while I was out at the Shore Classic, and he was very, very good. So I'm excited to see him. Another great Ukrainian to add to the list of already incredible athletes. But I'm excited to see him. Obviously, first opportunity I get to see him live. I know his dumbbell's extremely good. His deadlift's good. So yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing him compete. Always when a new guy comes on the scene that's obviously got a lot of potential, a lot of talent, I always enjoy watching them compete for the first time, because I think, you know, you can sort of get a good sense of where they're going to be and what they're going to be from when you first see them compete. So I'm excited for that. Now, we've got Jacko Schoonwinkel. He was, first time I saw him compete was obviously the year that he beat Brian Shaw in the heats at World's Strongest Man, and he was very, very impressive. Big, strong guy, you know, typical sort of almost the South African guys, they do breed them big and strong down there. And he yeah, he's got a lot of potential and he's got a lot of talent. Narrowly missed out on the final World's Strongest Man this year, but extremely good at like carrying events, moving events. He's just got that real raw power and raw strength, which, you know, I enjoy watching guys like that. He's not got a hell of a lot of finesse about the way he does things. He's just extremely big, extremely strong, and extremely athletic, which I can appreciate. But looking forward to seeing him compete. And then last but not least, I think this is a nice one to see because I've refereed him a good few times at Ultimate Strongman shows. Real nice guy is Chris Behan. Now, Chris won his right to be here. He won Scotland's Strongest Man. And so obviously he's going to have the crowd behind him as well. But Chris is one of those guys, he's just sort of slowly and steadily just got better and better and better and better and each year. And he's like the prime example of what a lot of us always say, that strength training and strongman is a marathon, not a sprint, in terms of you don't want to go from here to here like super quickly. It's just a nice steady progression. You keep yourself healthy in the process of doing it. And Chris is a prime example of that. Every year he's just improved that bit more, improved. And yeah, I actually think he's very consistent, he's very solid, he's very technically good on stuff, and he could upset a few people. Obviously, a lot of the guys won't know a hell of a lot about him, but obviously I've been lucky enough to see him compete a few times, and he is very good. So I'm pleased to see him get his opportunity at Giants Live as well, especially in Scotland on home soil. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Chris compete, and hopefully, which I think he can upset a few people. So next we're going to talk about the events. Now, I'm going to go into it a little bit with who I think could do well on each event, and then I'll give you my overall prediction at the end of the video. So first up, we've got the dumbbell medley. Now, you've got, obviously, Mitch Hooper's very good at it. Trey Mitchell's extremely strong on overhead. Luke Stoltman's very good at the dumbbell. There's a few of them that could do really well. Roman Grekov is extremely good at the dumbbell. All the Ukrainians seem to be good at it. I guess that's kind of how it goes. Like once one person in the country is good at an event, all the other guys sort of step up and realise that they need to get a lot better at that event. So obviously I think Novikov was like kind of the first one to really be exceptional at it from the Ukraine side of things, and now all of them are very good at it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Roman do the dumbbell. I saw a few videos from OSG of him doing it, and he's technically brilliant. So Pavo Corda is also technically brilliant. So it should be a good event. Obviously, it is a speed event as well. So it's a case of not making mistakes, not rushing, and just making sure you make every lift count. The first couple, obviously, are not going to take much out of the guys, the sort of 80 and 90 kilos, even maybe the 100 as well. You know, most of them will make pretty light work of that. But when you get into that 110 and 120, if you get it wrong, obviously, you're not going to get it. It's kind of, dumbbell's a lift where it's not like a press where you can like grind it out, because it's more sort of, you want to go from A to B in as explosive movement as possible. So you almost want to just use your legs and then catch it at the top. So it's not really technically a press. But with that, if your technique is not great, you can mess some of these lifts up. Now, of all those guys I just talked about, someone like Trey Mitchell, although he's got extremely strong shoulders and he is good at the dumbbell, I think that guys like Mitch, Roman, Pavlo, guys like that are technically better on the dumbbell, and they use explosive power and technique rather than brute strength. And I think with a dumbbell, that's really important. I've seen some guys that have got extremely strong shoulders be really bad at dumbbell and get beaten by guys that haven't got strong shoulders, because, like I said, it's not really a press. So I think from Trey's point of view, I would like to see and hope to see, which he's capable of because he has done well on the dumbbell in the past. I hope he can get through most of them, if not all of them, quickly and efficiently. But I see probably Roman or Mitch Hooper probably winning this event. It is up to 120 kilos, so it's nice and heavy as well. And yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see it, but I think it's a great event to start off with, and hopefully we'll see some great performances. So next up, we've got the Farmer's Walk into Super Yoke. Now, in my opinion, apart from there being some sort of odd earthly catastrophe or an injury, Mitch Hooper is winning this event all day long. I think at the moment he's best in the world at Farmer's Walk and he's best in the world at the Super Yoke. I mean, I suppose probably from Mitch's point of view, he's probably disappointed that he's got these two events combined and would prefer them as individual events because he would win both of them. So it'd be extra points for him. But I genuinely can't see anyone beating Mitch on this event. I know for any of you that know the results from World's Strongest Man on the frame carrying yoke, he didn't win it. But we all know what happened with his hands tearing up and things like that. I can't see on the 150 kilo farmers here that's going to happen. The frame carry, I think at World's Strongest Man, a lot of the reason why that happened is because it was quite wide. A lot of the weight was front and back, so it was rocking a lot, and it was extremely hot as well. So obviously you got the sweat side of things can play a factor. So I think those are kind of the issues why perhaps Mitch tore his hands up. Had he not torn his hands up, I'm sure he would have performed better. But, you know, that's a whole nother subject and a whole nother video. But Mitch wins this event all day long for me. And I think it's a case of someone like Trey, who I think is going to be one of Mitchell's main competitors for this event. I think for him, it's just a case of he's going to need to do almost damage limitation and place as near to the top as possible and not let Mitch get too far ahead of him. I'd like to see someone like Luke Richardson do well on this event. I know he's capable of it, and Kane Francis as well could do well. Evans Nana could do well. There's a few of the guys that are very quick, but like I said, I think this is Mitch events all day long. Deadlift for reps. I'm going to sound like a broken record. I think this is Mitch's event as well. There is some good deadlifters in there, but realistically, he's been on a roll recently, and I don't think that any of the guys are good enough deadlifters to beat him. I think, looking through the lineup, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey push him a little bit. And I think maybe Luke Richardson, if he's back to full health now and the hamstring all feels good and he's got his confidence back, he could do really well. But I think some of the other guys that are going to be battling, they're not going to be in the range that sort of Mitch is going to be in. That's just my opinion. I mean, hopefully someone proves me wrong. I think some of the guys will struggle to get more than 5. But yeah, this is Mitch's event all day long, and I think Trey could be the closest to that, in my opinion. And then we've got the Hercules hold. Now, I don't know what Mitch is like on the Hercules hold, so I can't actually comment. I know that a few of the guys have got good grips. Evans Nana. I'm just trying to think of else. But there are a few guys that are good at the Hercules hold, but it's not always, if you've got a good grip on things like farmers and stuff like that, it's not always that you're great at Hercules hold and vice versa. It is just, seems to be more comfortable for some people than others. Generally, if you've got a good grip, you're good at carrying farmers and things like that and good at Hercules hold, but it's not always as much of a given as that as what people think. Like someone like Trey is notoriously a bit weaker on his farmers with his grip, but then seems to do well in things like Hercules hold. So it'll be interesting, but yeah, I really don't know how this one's going to go because there's a lot of obviously unknowns in terms of the athletes, but also, yeah, it's not, you can't even use things like farmers walks and stuff as a gauge because it's not always as black and white as that. We have also got Iron Bibby going up against Felix as like guests. I assume obviously that Felix is going to try and break the record. I did actually have half an inkling at one point to ask if I could get involved as well, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. But I might be working on it. We'll see. I think as it stands at the moment, I've still got the second best time of everyone, or the best time that was done by anyone other than Mark Felix, which was at Europe's Strongest Man in 2020. I did like 1 minute 24, I believe. So I think I've got the best time of anyone other than what Felix has done. But I'm not there at the moment. And I know Bibby is very good, and I think he was around the same sort of time as what I did. He's got a very good grip. He's just been out doing some grip stuff with Martins, and his grip's pretty unbelievable. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. But yeah, it's just a sort of fun thing for the crowd, and I think it's good that it gives the other athletes a bit of a rest as well. Almost they get that little bit more rest time. Some of these events, although it's great for the crowd and the show and everything else, they rattle through the event so fast that sometimes it can almost feel a bit overwhelming for the athletes. Sort of been in that position yourself where you barely get back from doing an interview after an event and stuff like that. Get back, sort your kit out, change a few things that you need to change, and then it's almost like it's time to go. It can be extremely fast paced at times. So having that little bit of a breather for the guys could be a good thing. I think some of the guys need that sometimes, and obviously we get to see the amazing Mark Felix come out and do what he needs to do, and also obviously Bibby. I mean, everyone always loves seeing Mark do his thing. It's great that Mark's still sort of coming to these events and getting involved. I think I always say this, like me and Mark have not always been like the best of friends. Obviously when we were rivals, we didn't talk too much. But always respected him as a person and as an athlete. He's a great guy. We've never had like any real issue, but we were rivals. But things I would say about Mark is like he's a really, really, really fantastic human being. There's been many a time when I've been like so impressed with how he conducts himself as a man, not just as an athlete. He says what needs to be said. He's a very honourable, decent guy, and I can always appreciate that. I always think to myself, like, in a world that we live in now where, people can be so negative at times, and people can be very like two-faced or nasty online and all this stuff, we genuinely need more men like Mark Felix in the world. He's a hard-working guy, goes out there, puts on a show for everyone. He works hard, he's decent, he's got good morals. But I have nothing but respect for Mark, and I'm quite happy to see him come out and do Hercules Hole for the next 20 years if he's capable of doing it, because it's always great to see him around. He's like I said, he's a really decent guy, and I think anyone that's had a chance to meet Mark will know that. But if you haven't had the chance to meet Mark, he genuinely is like one of the most decent men. He's not, anyway, he's one of the most decent men you could ever meet. And I'm not just talking about like fun to be around. He's like a decent guy with great morals. So I can always appreciate Mark being there. Last up, we have the Castle Stones. Now, I believe it's the heavy set, which is 120 up to 200 kilos. I am really looking forward to seeing this. I'm hoping, although I don't think it's going to be the case, I'm hoping that someone can be close to Mitch. Now, I was thinking about this earlier when I was going through this in my head. I don't actually know how good Mitch is at Stones now. I know he's had some good performances in the past. And you've always said, like, Tom's amazing, like Trey's amazing at Stones. Mitch has always been good, but obviously Mitch has progressed a lot since the last time I really saw him go for it on the Stones. So I don't actually know how good he is at this precise moment, because everything else has got better. So I would imagine his Stones have got better as well. I think back to when Mitch won World's Strongest Man year before, not this year, last year. I think he actually comes second on the Stones, I believe. And he was really good. But obviously, Mitch has improved as a strongman a lot since then. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see if he's actually like extremely good at them now, because like I said, everything else has got stronger and better. So if he's been putting the same amount of effort into his stones as what he has the other stuff, I would imagine he's in a position where he's pretty bloody good at them now. I was just thinking about this. I haven't actually mentioned Luke Stoltman much, which, yeah, I'm not really sure why, because I'm sort of like thinking about the events. Luke's good at dumbbell. He's pretty good at farmers and yoke. His deadlift's getting better, and obviously with it being 350 for reps, he could perform pretty well on that. Hercules hold, he's not great, but he's all right. Stones, he's good. So he'll be in the mix on a lot of it as well. But the one thing I would say is I'm obviously talking about all these guys, Luke and Roman and, you know, going through all Kane and Evans Nana, and I'm talking about all these different guys. And the one thing that's pretty consistent is I'm always talking about Mitch, and I think this is how Strongman's been this year, apart from obviously World's Strongest Man when Tom was sort of not really struggling with the injuries and was on form. He's been so dominant, you know, he's just been so good. And every event you put in front of him, he's maybe not the absolute best, but he's very close to it. And I think this is the thing with Mitch, is like he doesn't have bad events at all. He has amazing events and good events. And I think that's the difference. He's just, he's just that bit better across the board than what anyone else is. I mean, if you took all the best guys in a competition with every strongman event you could think of and let them go at it, Mitch would win every day of the week. And that's not me being nasty towards Tom and any of those guys, because Tom can beat Mitch with the right events. There's no doubt about that. But I think across the board, Mitch has a few less weaknesses. So I honestly think that for my prediction on the top three, I think that Mitch wins. And then I see a battle between Trey, Luke, Richardson, Luke Stoltman, and Wes Dwinsky all those guys battling for second and third. I think that it will be Mitch first, Trey second, and then the other guys battling for third. But those other guys could get in that mix as well. That's how I see it going in terms of the overall. But it's wide open, this one. Apart from, in my opinion, Mitch. I think he wins. And then I think the rest of it could be like Vegas, where there was a couple of shocks and a few surprises. It could all change a lot. You know, a lot of the guys are so close and obviously have good and bad events. It's all about if someone has a slightly bad event and then the other guy overperforms, they could then overtake them. They're all very close in terms of like their abilities. Just some of them are slightly better at some events and some are slightly better at others. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a hell of a battle and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a great way to end the season. I think that we could see some epic performances on every event. And I think Mitch will probably round out his Giants Live competitions this year with winning all of the ones he was able to win. But no disrespect to Mitch, I hope that's not the case. I hope he's pushed hard, and even if he wins, I hope that, you know, some of the guys really step up to the plate and it's actually close. It could be. I don't think it will be, but it could be. So I really would love to see someone like Trey come out and really put in a stellar performance, improved a tiny bit from Vegas, come out and do the business and maybe win the show. Again, nothing against Mitch. I always root for the underdog. I'd love to see Luke Stoltman or Luke Richardson on the podium, both obviously fellow Brits, and for different reasons. Luke Richardson, obviously, because he's coming back from the injury run that he's had, and it'll be another podium finish. But obviously, with Luke Stoltman being in Scotland, I would love to see him on the podium as well. I think it would be great for the crowd and for him. That's how I see it going anyway. I think that, like I said, it's been an amazing year with Giants Live. I've worked on the live streams, commentating. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And obviously, hopefully, next year they keep me on and keep me sort of doing that, because it's something I love doing. I get a great seat watching the guys do their business. And yeah, I think it's been the best year ever in terms of the Giants Live performances and shows. So I'm looking forward to an even better 2025. But yeah, anyway, Mitch Hooper for the win for me, and then yeah, Trey, and I think probably let's go out on a limb and say Luke Stolman in third place. Let's go for it. No sitting on the fence. But yeah. Anyway, that's my predictions for Giants Live Glasgow World Tour Finals. Obviously, if you agree, disagree, that's all totally fine. And I could be completely wrong because, like I said, I think that the lineup is so close, it could go any one of a number of ways. So hopefully you'll be there or watching the live stream. That's available on officialstrongman.com. And obviously, I'll be working on that with, I believe, Nicola and Loz as well. So you'll get our insights while it's happening, and hopefully you tune in and watch the action as well.